We have started the unit network layer. We are continuing that unit only in this session with the topic tunneling and fragmentation. So in this session, we are going to see what tunneling concept means, why it is required with some example, and we will see what are the different fragmentation strategies at network layer to handle the packet transferring process. So first of all, let us see what tunneling means. This is the diagram which indicates the tunneling process. Over here, there are different Ethernet process or Ethernet frames at different locations. As you can see, two different Ethernet locations are indicated. One Ethernet is assumed to be in Paris and another Ethernet is assumed to be in London. How this data transfer takes place, that comes under the category of tunneling process. So, handling the general case of making two different networks in the internetwork is exceedingly difficult. It is very difficult to handle the packets which are large in number of packets. However, there is a common special case that is manageable. This case is where the source and destination host are of the same type of network. They are on the similar network, but there is a different network in between. As an example, think of an international bank with a TCP/IP based Ethernet in Paris and a TCP/IP based Ethernet in London, and a non-IP wide area network, that is WAN, for example, considered as ATM, in between, which is as shown in the figure. Here, the solution to this problem is a technique which is called as the tunneling. To send an IP packet to host 2, host 1 constructs the packets containing the IP address of host 2, inserts this into an Ethernet frame which is addressed to the Paris multi-protocol router and puts it on the Ethernet. When the multi-protocol router gets the frame, it removes the IP packet, inserts it in the payload field of the WAN network layer packet and addresses the latter to the WAN address of the London multi-protocol router. When it gets there, the London router removes the IP packet and sends it to host 2 inside the Ethernet frame. The WAN can be seen as a big tunnel extending from one multi-protocol router to the other. The IP packet just travels from one end to the another end, snugs it into the nice box. It does not have to worry about dealing with the WAN at all. Neither do the host on the Ethernet does. Or only the multi-protocol router has to understand IP and WAN packets. In effect, the entire distance from the middle of one protocol router to the middle of other acts like as a serial line. Now let us take an analogy which makes this tunneling concept more clear. Consider a person driving a car from Paris to London within France. The car moves under its own power, but when it hits the English Channel, it is loaded into high-speed train. At the far end, whenever it is carried from the different transportation protocols or transportation modes, it will again back to its roads. That means whenever it cannot be travelled by road, the another mode of transfer it is applied. Same way the network protocols also works. The packets can travel through different networks by inserting them into some another packets, which is called as encapsulation, and at the receiver side it decapsulates the packets to get the original packet back. So this is the concept of tunneling, which means that whenever a packet is traveled through different networks, it is inserted into a packet which acts as a tunnel and through which the packet just travels to the another end. Now let us see the next one, that is fragmentation. So let's see now the fragmentation. So each network imposes some maximum size on its packets. These limits have various causes. Among them, there are some cases in which the first case is hardware. For example, the size of the Ethernet frame. The second cause is OS, that is operating system. For example, all buffers are of 512 bytes. The third cause is to protocols, is about protocols. That means, for example, the number of bits in the packet length field. The next is compliance with some international or national standards. Next is to desire to reduce error-induced retransmissions to some level. And the last one is to desire to prevent one packet from occupying the channel too long. So for this, to handle the large number of packets, fragmentation is used. An obvious problem appears when a large packet wants to travel through a network whose maximum packet size is too small. One solution is to make sure that the problem does not occur in the first place. In other words, the internet should use a routing algorithm that avoids sending packets through networks that they cannot handle. However, this solution is not a solution at all. What happens if the original source packet is too large to be handled by the destination network? So the routing algorithm can hardly bypass the destination. So basically, the only solution to the problem is to allow gateways to break up packets into fragments, sending each fragment to a separate internet packet. However, as every parent of a small child knows, converting a large object into small fragments is considerably easier than the reverse process. Packet switching networks too have trouble putting the fragments back together again. So for that, two opposite strategies exist for recombining the fragments back into the original packet. So let us see which are these two strategies to recombine the original packets back. Figure indicates the different two strategies for recombining the packets back. These two strategies are the first one, transparent strategy, and the second one is non-transparent strategy. The first strategy is to make fragmentation caused by a small packet network transparent to any subsequent networks through which the packet must pass on its way to ultimate destination. This option is shown in the figure A. In this approach, the small packet network has gateways that interface to other networks. When an oversized packet arrives at this gateway, the gateway breaks it up into fragments. Each fragment is addressed to the same exit gateway where the pieces are recombined. In this way, passage through the small packet network has been transparent. Subsequent networks are not even aware that fragmentation has occurred. ATM networks, for example, have special hardware to provide transparent fragmentation of packets into cells and then reassembly of cells into packets. In the ATM world, fragmentation is called as segmentation. The concept is same, but some of the details are different. The transparent fragmentation is straightforward, but has some problems. For one thing, the exit gateway must know when it has received all the pieces, so either a count field or an end bit of packet which is to be provided. For another thing, all packets must exit via the same gateway by not allowing some fragments to follow one route to the ultimate destination and other fragments to a disjoint route. So some performance may be lost. So a last problem is the overhead required to repetitively reassemble and then refragment a large packet passing through a series of small packet networks. So ATM requires transparent fragmentation. Now the another fragment strategy is to refrain from recombining fragments at any intermediate gateways. Once a packet has been fragmented, each fragment is treated as though it were as an original packet. All fragments are passed to the exit gateway. or gateways, as shown in the figure B, the recombination process occurs only at the destination host. So IP, that is Internet Protocol, works this way on this strategy. So these are the basically two strategies of fragmentation, transparent strategy and non-transparent strategies, which is shown in this figure. Now in the next session, we are going to see the IP, that is Internet Protocol. We will see IPv4 and IPv6 standards and different classes of IP version 4 and their decimal rotations. These are the references. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Tunnel mode is the more commonly used operation mode. Suppose we have two end hosts A and B belonging to the same company but in two different local area networks over the internet. If there's an IPsec tunnel between the gateways of the two local area networks, the same tunnel mode is the more commonly used operation mode. Suppose we have two end hosts A and B belonging to the same company but in two different local area networks over the internet. If there's an IPsec tunnel between the gateways of the two local area networks, then traffic from A to B is automatically protected by the tunnel. That is, A can send unencrypted or unprotected packets, and before the packets leave the local area network, the gateway adds protection and sends the packets to the gateway to B's network, which then unprocesses the packets, for example, decrypts the packets and sends them to B. The gateway of A's network actually encapsulates traffic from A to B by adding a new IP header that specifies the gateway as its source IP and B's gateway as its destination IP to make sure that the protected packet is delivered to B's gateway first. It also includes the IPsec header, which contains information about the protection provided using AH or ESP, which we will discuss shortly. The original packet now becomes the data or payload of the new IP packet.